Good morning, it's me again, and welcome back to this small little series I'm doing entitled Why. Today is Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, and it's the day before the Passover, the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, the Last Supper. Now, today, as I said yesterday, I'm going to be reading from Trusty Rusty, God's Word. This is a true story, as I've been saying, because of all the evidence and the proof that Jesus walked around, because of all the old historical documents pointing to Jesus. So yeah, very reliable stuff. So this is a true story. I'm going to read today something quite deep. And it's pretty long. It's a few pages, so you don't need to listen to it all in one. You can come back later on if you want to. It's called The Signs of the End of the Age. Chronologically, Jesus didn't say this after the stuff that I read yesterday, the anointing. But I'm going to read it today because it fits in nicely, okay? So he would have said this a few days earlier, maybe last week or something. Matthew 24, The Signs of the End of the Age. I used to love this as a child. I still do. It's makes you think. Okay, here we go. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came to him to call his attentions to the buildings. Do you see all these things? Jesus asked. I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. Now, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives later on, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, he said, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming at the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all the nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, hundreds and hundreds of years before, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the roof of his house go out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get his cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant mothers and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. I can honestly say I've never ever prayed that prayer in my life. Maybe I should start doing it. For then there will be great distress, unequalled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equalled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. The elect is the church. At that time, if another person says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there he is, don't believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, there he is, out in the desert, do not go out. Or if they say, here he is in the upper rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. That is a little passage from Isaiah, also written hundreds of years before. At that time, the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds in the sky with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from a fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. So far they haven't, and he's right, they never will. Jesus carries on. Do feel free, if you want to stop and come back and listen a bit later on. There is a lot of talking. Jesus says, no one knows about that day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, the guy who built the ark, if you remember, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. This is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other will be left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill, one will be taken and the other left. Or let's make it more modern. 2 people will be in the office at work, one will be taken, the other will be left. Therefore keep watch, because you don't know on what day the Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you must also be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom the master has put in charge of the servants in the household, to give them all their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. I tell you the truth, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose the servant is wicked, and says to himself, my master's staying away a long time. And then he begins to beat his fellow servants, or to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, at an hour he is unaware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place for the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You'll find that that phrase is used quite a lot. Jesus then tells a little parable to kind of explain the story, explain what he's saying. The parable of the 10 virgins. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps but didn't take any oil with them. This isn't really a relevant story for today, because we don't have 10 virgins marrying one guy. But in those days it was a little bit more common. So yeah, 10 virgins, bridegroom. Anyway, it's a parable, so it's not a true story. It's Jesus explaining something through a story, because that's what he did, and it worked. Alright, sorry, let's carry on. 5 were foolish, 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but didn't take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took some spare oil in jars. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come to meet him!" Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." While they were on their way to buy some more oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in to meet him, went into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Sir, sir," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." Oh, it's deep stuff, this. The parable of the talents. Again, It'll be like a man going on a long journey, who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. He gave 5 talents of money to one, 2 talents of money to another, and 1 talent to yet another, according to his ability. Then he went away on his journey. The man who received 5 talents went at work at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 talents gained 2 more, but the man who received just the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid the money. After a long time, you see that's mentioned again, a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who received the 5 talents bought the other 5. He said, Master, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've gained you 5 more. And the man with 2 talents did the same. The master replied, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The guy with the 2 talents who earned 2 more, he said the same, and the master said exactly the same thing to him. Well done. Exactly the same thing. Bear in mind that. He said, Well done, good and faithful servant. I put you in charge of a few things. Come and share your happiness. He says exactly the same thing to the guy who had 5 and to the guy who had 2. It's interesting that. You don't get more of a reward for having more stuff. Then the man who received the 1 talent came. Master, he said, I knew that you're a hard man, harvesting where you haven't sown and gathering where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid the talent you gave me in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, You wicked and lazy servant. So you knew that I harvested where I've not sown and gathered where I've not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he who has he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That thing again, that reference. One more chunk, and then this is it for today. I can't remember what I've named this video now. It was why should we listen? That was what it was. This is where that question comes in now. Why should we listen to what Jesus is about to say? Okay. The sheep and the goats. This is still Jesus talking. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. And the king will say to those on his right, Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and help you out? The king will reply, so that was a little paraphrase at the end. The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for the least of these brothers of mine, let me say that again. Sorry, it's important this. I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. And the king will say to the people on his left, sheep on his right, goats on the left, he'll say, Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Not prepared for human beings, I might add. Prepared for the devil and the angels. His angels. For I was hungry, I gave you, and you gave me nothing to eat. Thirsty, you gave me nothing. A stranger, you didn't invite me in. I needed clothes, you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison, you didn't look after me. They will also answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty? When did we see you in prison or sick or in need of clothes? And he will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. Whew, that's what Jesus said. I did warn you, it is deep stuff. Cool, blimey. Yeah, so the question, what was the question? Why should I listen to that? C.S. Lewis once said about Jesus, there are 3 ways you can look at Jesus, okay? Only 3 ways. Jesus is either mad, bad, or right. So he's either a madman, a lunatic who believes that he's the Son of God, and so, okay, he's off his rocker. He's either an incredibly evil person claiming such high things, but not actually true, or he is the Son of God. You can only look at those 3 things. There are some people who say that Jesus is a good teacher. He was a good moral teacher. If you think about it, you can't look at Jesus like that. You have to make a decision whether he is the Son of God, whether he was insane or evil. That's me paraphrasing what C.S. Lewis said. So you need to think about, you guys, if you want to, you free will, do whatever you like. Why should we listen to what Jesus says? Was he mad? Was he bad? Or was he the Son of God? Because the things that he just said, that I just read to you guys, if he was a good moral teacher, that's deep stuff. It's about salvation and where we're going. It wasn't just airy-fairy, love your neighbours in that. That is, deep salvation stuff. Anyway, you get it because you just listened to it. Hello, those who just joined in. Do listen to it again. I just read The Signs of the End of the Age. If you're a Christian, you know that's deep stuff. But yeah, what does it mean to you? Why should we listen to that? Think about it. Have a little think. Why should we listen to Jesus? Should we listen at all? I'll leave that with you today. Well done if you've stayed the whole way through. It was very deep. Come back at 5:30 later on today to listen to The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. We've got to quite a deep point in there as well. Good grief. But then, this whole Holy Week is pretty deep. Yeah, 5:30 for The Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. Tomorrow we will be doing, because it's Thursday, we'll be doing the Lord's Supper, the Last Supper. I'm going to split tomorrow into 2 sections, actually. We'll have the Last Supper in the morning, and then tomorrow evening, which is actually when it took place, I'm going to do a lot of reading of what Jesus said to his disciples in that room, which you can find in the Gospel of John. Okay? Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, it is deep stuff. But to those of us who believe it, it is true. So yeah, guys, I'll leave you with that. Why should we listen to Jesus? If we want to. That's my thought of the day. Thanks for listening, guys. Bless you. See you later.